Qin, was a minor crime boss in Ronipur. Although he is Chinese, he was not connected in any way to Chang's triad. He had become jealous of how Balulka, who was a Russian and considered an outsider to the island by most of the minor bosses, had become successful while his businesses, which included smuggling, had fallen off. He had tried to persuade Dutch to contract with him, but because Dutch had little faith in Qin's integrity, he had given Qin the cold shoulder. Angry, Qin had contracted Luik and his pirate fleet 6 small Vietnam War-era swift boats to ambush the Lagoon Company on their boat and sink it. He also tricked a trusted source for Dutch, Donnie Yen, by giving him phony information about a job for Dutch. However, Qin also had one fatal flaw: he had no sense of discretion. In fact, he had openly boasted about setting up Dutch, so much so that the entire island had learned of his plans. But when he found out that Revi had single-handedly killed off Luik's men and boats, he tried to flee the island only to be stopped by Balulka and Hotel Moscow. To placate Dutch's sore feeling about their misfortune, the Russian had Qin killed, blowing him up in his hotel room.